Good evening, members. I trust that you can hear us loud and clear. We are coming to you live from Telepost Sacco. Thank you so much for joining us. We can see that we have a good number, including our members from the diaspora. I think we saw someone, Miriam Chege. Thank you so much for joining. We are giving people at least 5 more minutes to join, but kindly take your phone. Take this opportunity to invite a friend, your workmates. Remember, the session is free for all to join your friends, your family members, your work groups. Please share the link so that as many of us can benefit from these forums. Our marketing team has really tried to share the link widely. So we are really also depending on members to do the same so that we are able to benefit together. So in the next 5 minutes, we'll be ready to start as we give you a moment to share the link. Thank you. Thank you, members, for those that have just joined us. Karibuni sana to today's session, session 4. When we started off, we said we'll give each other the next 3 minutes or so to be able to start. But we are also encouraging you, please just take your phone, send that link to your friend, your spouse, your colleague, your job groups. Let's get as many of us benefiting from this stream as possible. So kindly, in the next 3 minutes, we are starting, but please take a minute to share the link to your friends. Thank you.
Yo, bro, we gotta go. Go, Michael. Go and don't look back. No. I better go last. Come on, Michael. Come on.
All right. Good evening once again, members. I think we've given an allowance of 15 minutes to those who are still trying to rush and get home. Thank you so much for taking time to join us. We are here at the Sacco, and we are looking forward to a wonderful session 4. Kindly feel free to interject in case we are not clear, or in case you need us to do anything to make you comfortable in this session. My name is Miriam Deke, the CEO Telepost Sacco. We appreciate our members also from the diaspora joining in. Miriam Chege, thank you so much. We realize that you're in a different time zone and you've been able to join us. We really appreciate your presence. We will actually get to hear from you probably before the tail end of this session, just to get your testimony about this program and how it is where you are. Thank you so much. So our facilitator is ready, Andrew Kibe, and we will definitely take a moment to recap. But maybe as we begin, we also request once again, if you've just joined us and you have not shared the link with your sisters, your brothers, please do so. With your workmates, the job WhatsApp groups, ask them to just listen in. It's free and it's beneficial in the long run. We have also been advocating for consistency. If it is your first time, it's not too late. I know Andrew will be able to do a quick recap, but we request that we keep joining because we are building up something and there's nothing good that is done in a day. So this is session 4. We are doing a total of 12 sessions, 2 sessions every month. And so we are here at session 4. We are taking a different trajectory today. The first 3 sessions, our facilitator really majored on the mindset aspect, which is building up to where we are today. So today is very crucial. You cannot afford to drop, and don't let your colleague miss out also in this session. We'll also request you to mute your mics kindly. Please mute your mics. You could be on the road or in the house. Kindly mute your mic so that we are not able to get too many interruptions as we proceed. So thank you so much. We'll also be able to get our director to say hi to us even as the session proceeds. So karibu sana, Mr. Andrew. I know you take us through a quick recap. Thank you so much for making time to be here again. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Madam Miriam. Again, thank you directors, management, and generally members of Telepost Sacco. As you've heard, my name is Andrew Kibe. Today, we are covering the fourth session of the 12s that we had. I've always emphasized that it's very important for people to attend these classes. Given the experience I've seen since I started teaching this, it is really changing people's lives. And so just take the opportunity to learn what you have to learn. I mentioned to you, the scripture tells us that my people perish for lack of knowledge. So those of you who've attended the past classes, we broke down knowledge into two parts. So we talked about it's the importance of distinguishing the two types of knowledge that exist outside there. So there's what we termed as the correct knowledge and what we termed as the incorrect knowledge. The problem here is if you're raised up with incorrect knowledge, you're not going to be aware of that. You'll always believe that it is the only way or the right way to do things. So you end up becoming sort of a slave for someone because your mindset then is being controlled. So just to do a bit of recap of what we've done so far, Madam Miriam, please confirm to me if the slides can be seen, please. Or anyone,
Yes.
can anyone please confirm if the slides can be seen?
Yes, the slides can be seen.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So a recap of what we've done in the first three sessions. What I want to remind you is we came up with this formula where we are saying for you to be able to build up the skill necessary for you to attain financial freedom, we have this formula where we're saying it is made up of three parts. And those three parts we say we have the right mindset plus the right knowledge plus the right practice. Okay? So this is very key for us to understand. Okay? Now, when we have these three components, this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. We say this first one plays out 80% of the total skill. Okay? Then you have the knowledge as the second one, and then we have the right practice. Okay? Just a moment, please. Just a moment, please. Sorry, I don't follow. Okay, it's coming late for me. Just a moment, please. There's something I'm trying to sort out here.
Members, please just someone to confirm to us that you are able to see the presentations. All right. Sawa, sawa. Thank you, Andrew. You can continue.
All right. Sorry, members, for that. Now that you've confirmed, you can see, I was saying that when we're thinking about financial freedom, we can break it down into these three components. So the first one, we're saying you have to develop the right mindset. The second one is getting the right knowledge. And the third one is the practice. Financial skill is just not a skill, it's a life skill. And therefore, it cannot be treated any other differently than any other skill outside there. So if you think about how you train your child to speak, you realize you start from when they're very, very small, even as an infant. If you think of any other, what we call life skills, you start from when you're very young, you instill it, and they keep practicing over and over and over. There's no shortcut to this. The problem with the world today is everyone is trying to look for shortcuts to make money quickly. Of course, there are areas where people succeed in that, but trust me, that money, you're never going to last with it. There's just the way that nature is created, how God has created. You cannot plant a seed today and expect it to be a tree tomorrow morning. Those are just fairy tales we used to read. If you observe nature, you realize everything takes time. And so that acceptance is very important for you to attain the goal where you're heading. So when I was starting, I told you this first component is made up of 80% of the entire skill. And the reason for that is because we decided now to define who we are. We wanted to understand who we are as human beings. And we went to the scripture part of it and science, and we picked up where the scripture tells us we are created in the image and likeness of God. And we realized that what that statement is that we are a reflection of what God is. So if you want to understand yourself, who you really are, you have to understand who God is. Because understanding who God is, you are that image, you are that reflection. Therefore, to define yourself, you need to understand who God is. And so we said in our definition that we understand God is the creator of heaven and earth. So if God is the creator and you are an image of that, then you are also a creator. You are reflecting who God is. And once we get to understand that, we go ahead and we saw God gave us the free will to do as we choose. Now, this free will, you have to be very careful because it is not what comes to most people's minds, because they assume free will is about actions. No, it's not about actions. What it means is we've been created in his image as creators. God has given us the free will to create what we want. You cannot tell your son, I've given you the free will to go study at university, whatever you want to, but make sure you do medicine. You're setting a condition. By setting up a condition, then you're breaking. There's no free will there. So when God told us, I've given you the free will, he cannot come to interfere with the choices that we make. He cannot come to interfere with what we choose to create for ourselves. That's the freedom we were given. And so as humans, understanding that we are creators, then the next step was to understand how we create. So we looked at the creation and we said, we can only create the way God created because we are a reflection of that. So we went ahead and studied how God created the world. And so the first thing we picked out was, the first thing God did was he had an idea, a thought. So we said the first step of creation is a thought. What is the next thing God did? He spoke the word. So the second step of creation is speaking that word, and that word you're speaking started with a thought. And so when God spoke the word became flesh. So for us humans, it means the first step of creation as creators is a thought. And you see, whenever you're thinking about something, the tool that we were given to think does not care whether you're thinking about the right thoughts or the wrong thoughts, or whether it's left, right, whatever it is. It only knows to attract what you store inside it. So first step is thinking, the second step is speaking as humans, and the third one is a repetition of the first two over and over. So the moment you think about that, you ask yourself, if the first step of creation is a thought, where then does the thought occur in us as humans? and the thought occurs in what we call the mind. So the mind is a tool that God gave us to create what we want. In this instance, we want to use this tool to create financial freedom for ourselves. So the first step is, what kind of thoughts do we hold in our minds about money? So if you're holding thoughts of scarcity, you're speaking about scarcity, you do not realize as a creator how powerful you are. You are actually inviting poverty to your life. Because the thoughts you're holding is hakuna. It's never there, it's never enough. That's what you're always talking about. And there's nothing God is going to do. He'll just keep sending the same experiences of pain and pain until you alter the thoughts, because God cannot interfere with that process He gave us as creators. Create what you want. So anytime you find yourself, life is not going the way you want to, stop looking outside. What you need to do is look inside. What kind of thoughts are you holding? And when you start paying attention to the kind of thoughts you're holding, you'll realize you're the one who's creating what you don't like. That's why we're saying people who understand the psychology of the mind control the world. Why? Because they make sure they feed into your mind what they want you to believe. And once you accept that truth from them, you become their slave. Because whatever you hold inside is what you're going to attract your life. It's what you're going to pull. Because your mind works like a magnet. Whatever is stored inside there is what pulls and pulls and pulls. That is why financial education is not taught in most countries at school. Because when you're taught, that knowledge will come inside here and you start thinking about it. When you think about it, you've activated the power of creating it in your life. So they lied to us that teaching about money to children is wrong. They made sure we do not even have those discussions with our parents, with our children. And we believed them. And by fact of believing what they lied to us, we created what we create to this day. So we follow this path of going to school, getting job, then eventually we retire broke. And yes, our prayers are being answered because we keep going through more and more painful. Look at where our country is today. World Bank has said, fine, we'll give you the money you're looking for, but then the taxes have to go up. This is another year where taxes are going to shoot up again. So the only way to change what you don't like about your life, it has nothing to do with your parents, your sibling, your spouse, anything outside. It all has to do with the programs you are allowing inside here. It's like a woman who's always praying for the husband to stop, beating her. And nothing is changing. Why? Because you are the one who is encouraging this person to be beating you. So they'll continue until the day you're going to change the thoughts. And the way to change the thoughts is to make him realize that he's inflicting pain in you. So either forgive him for the last time and tell him the next time you do this, I'm walking away. So there are two things I told you when I think it was in the second class. There are two very important questions that you should always ask yourself as a creator. The first one is, who am I? Relative to this experience I'm going through, who am I? Because you're the one who created it. So you're asking yourself, based on this financial situation I am, who am I? Do I like what I'm seeing? I don't like it. And if I don't like it, then the second question comes in. What do I choose to be? Now that I don't like my financial situation, it's so painful. The second question, what do I choose to be? I choose to be wealthy. So you start changing the thinking patterns. You start looking at, what can I do to actually change this? And that is why this program is so important and so powerful, because we have already answered the first one. And we know where we want to be, it's financial freedom. So that understanding, before we get into the topics around what can help you attain the financial freedom you're looking for, is to understand this thing that is not seen by people, which is why we're saying the first component is what we're calling developing the right mindset. If you do not have the right mindset, you will struggle for the rest of your life. And I mentioned to you, if you go to these classes outside there where they teach financial literacy, you will never hear them talk about mindset, ever. What they'll teach you is they'll give you this part here, the knowledge. Okay? And once they give you this knowledge, I want you to understand that this takes up 10%. And this takes up, the practice part takes percent. Now you can start understanding why you attend so many of those classes and nothing changes. Because you're not addressing the key issue, which is this. It is what I told from the word go. You cannot pick a piece of paper with numbers and you give it to someone who has a Word document and you tell them to start working his magic on analysis and give you some conclusion about those numbers. No matter how many times he goes to read about the word, you know, Microsoft Word 2024 is out. Pay for me, I go see whether I can add some skills. You're using the wrong program. So for starters, the first 3 topics was about, let's identify what kind of programs we have. Because we have the wrong programs, then we need to uninstall Word document and instill Excel. And once we instill Excel, now numbers will make sense. So that's what we basically covered in the first 3 topics that we looked at. So today we want to dive into the actual now topics. We also looked at now the mind being the tool that we were given to create. We said, let's go deeper, and we realized that the mind is made up of 2 parts. So there's what we call the subconscious mind and what we call the conscious mind. The subconscious mind is the part of your mind that does not think. It just reacts. It's your habit. It's your character. This is what defines you as a person. Ukisikia mtu akisema kuna tabia zinakaa hivi, he's referring to what is programmed in your subconscious mind. And the worst thing about the subconscious mind, you're not aware that it exists. Okay? So the conscious part of your mind is the part that thinks, it's reasoning, it's trying to make sense of things. Now, I'm going to repeat this diagram because this is very, very crucial for those of you who are joining us today. This is what we said last time. When a child is born, their mind is blank. Haina kitu yoyote. Okay? We said between the age of 0 and 7, they operate from a subconscious mind. 100%. Okay? Then above 7 years, the subconscious mind takes up 95% for the rest of your life. And the conscious, which I'm going to call C, takes up only 5% for the rest of your life. So this is what you are aware of. When you're doing your analysis, when you feel you're very smart, when you're talking to people, you're only using 5%. 95%, you don't even know it exists. And I gave you a simple example. I told you the body will never do anything without instructions coming from the mind. So to understand the power of the subconscious, last time I told people, think about the moment you get out of your bed. You step outside of your bed, your legs are moving, okay? But you're not thinking about the legs moving. Your mind is somewhere else, but your body is doing something. And that something it's doing, it's coming from a part of your mind. So since you're not thinking about that, it means your conscious is somewhere else, but it is the subconscious that is moving your legs. You walk to the bathroom, you're thinking about something. The thing you're thinking about, that's conscious. But that movement to the bathroom, washing yourself, brushing your teeth, going to take your breakfast, driving your car to work, all those things your body is up to, you're not even aware it's happening. That is the power of the subconscious. So people who understand this can control you without your knowledge. All they need to do is focus on these first 7 years of your life and instill the programs they want. From here, if you're not aware of what I'm teaching you here, that's it. And that is why 95% and above people struggle financially. If you understood this secret, things would have been different. And that's why we're saying we should be the last generation to go through this financial stress that we see in Africa. And the secret is to start introducing our children to these topics. Let them grow up understanding that, okay? So that they absorb it very easy at that age of 0 to 7. So here I said, your subconscious mind is 30,000 times powerful than your conscious. That is why it's so difficult to break a habit. Ishaingia na ikakwama kabisa. So this is what we want to do. We want, as we learn this thing, we want to unprogram the wrong programs about money. Because much of even what we are taught about money is not structured to help you first. It is structured to help someone else before you. And you're going to see why that is the case, okay? Then the next thing we looked at is the downside of our education system, where I told you it was designed to raise what we call perfectionists, okay? If you become number 2, you felt bad because there's someone in front of you. It was designed to make us compete against each other instead of cooperation. If you really think through it, you'll realize it is doing the opposite of what nature does. And all it takes is you just to look around you. Look at the communities that hold each other. Look at Somalis. We are busy here competing with each other. Isili ilienda, sasa Nairobi nusu imeenda. You wait and see. If we do not change up here, this country is going to be theirs. And you cannot blame them. I congratulate them for understanding the power of unity. But we were poisoned to always fight each other. This thing goes all the way down to the family level. And where did we get this thing of competition? School. Number 1, number 3, numbers due, what. Does it care whether you're number 1 or not? We should be focusing on the marks I've got today. Have I improved from my last time? The competition should be with you, not with others, because you showed up in this world alone and you'll exit alone. So why are we competing? It has been ingrained in our subconscious back at Woni. And that is what we find in the corporate world. It is so toxic that people forget when they went there. Value addition goes down. There's so much backstabbing and all these things. But this is what is so interesting. At the end of it, their interest was to produce workers, employees. And that's why from the moment you join kindergarten, at that bracket of 0 to 7, they started singing to you, what would you like to be? And they started mentioning this doctor, lawyer, all these things they're mentioning, they belong to what we call employee, which is what we're going to learn today, something called cash flow quadrant. So from the moment you join the institution called education, your subconscious mind started getting programmed without you realizing. Today, job markets are shrinking rapidly, yet we're increasing universities and colleges. So we are producing more students and the job market is shrinking. Who is thinking about where all these graduates are going to go? So if we keep following what has always been done, we don't even realize we're really programmed, you know? We just want to do things that have been done before. And the world is changing very rapidly. I gave you a very simple example. We have PhDs in our universities here. Which country in Africa is testing its own COVID? A disease that almost brought the world to a standstill. You'd expect Africa somewhere, at least we've tried this. Nowhere. And people are so impressed in introducing themselves as a PhD, Dr. So and so. It's time we start facing the reality of war. All this is because most people don't understand what I'm talking about, the subconscious mind. It is so powerful and it's a life-changing. So at the end of the last presentation, I showed you the difference of these two communities. I looked at Indians in Kenya versus us, the Blacks. And we went through the steps of the first 7 years through the subconscious. We went to up to 23, and we saw why we are always in debt, why we're always struggling financially. And I showed you the example of me and what I did. All right. So that was just the intro. I've gone overboard around that, but the point was to actually get those who've not been there, because we're starting the topic today to have at least a good background on what we've covered so far. So today we want to introduce the first topic now after you've actually understood the concept of the mind and how it functions. Now, I want you to follow these topics the way I'm going to teach you, not the way you've had it before. It's fine, you can go compare notes once we are done, but for now, please follow what I'm going to take you through. So the first question, once you understand how the mind works, the first and most important, and this is what you need to start now teaching your children, is where can we get money from? What are the sources of where income can come from? Okay? Now, there's a gentleman called Robert Kiyosaki who has written a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And when I read what I'm going to teach you on that one, my mind just blew up. And that gave me the confidence to walk away from employment, because I was finally able to connect the dots. So what is this thing is calling the cash flow quadrant? We're going to look at three things. Number one, we want to understand what is it. Number two, we want to define each part of it. We just use three simple examples in each part so that we're very clear what each part represents. And then the final thing we're going to look at is what is the difference between the people who are found on the left-hand side and those who are found on the right-hand side. Because that understanding is going to show you where the money is. It's going to show you where wealth is, where financial freedom is. So once you understand where financial freedom or wealth is, you're going to ask yourself, where have I been since I started working? Like I said, my people perish for lack of right knowledge. So you might be missing this right knowledge and you're working so hard, but you're in the wrong place. Your mind was programmed in the areas where there's no wealth. Your mind was programmed where there's no financial freedom. Your mind was programmed where you're going to struggle financially. But because you've been taught to work so hard, you will continue working hard. And that's why we saw our retirees, most of them are relying on pensions and upkeep at retirement, because they followed the very same system that we found. So we have examples of folks up country and we've seen it's not working. So common sense should tell us, no, we need to hold back and ask ourselves why. And it is that understanding, okay? So the cash flow quadrant, simply put, is a tool that we can use to categorize the only 4 possible areas of where you can earn money. So the cash flow quadrant is showing us the 4 categories that you can earn money from. There's so many ways of making money, but all of them can be put in one of these 4 categories. So that's the definition I'm going to use. It's a tool that shows the 4 categories of where you can earn income from. Not the way to, but the categories. So you can pick 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 1,000, and all of them can fall into one category. Okay? So I hope that is clear. Now let's move to define each part using just 3 things. So what are these 4? These 4 are broken down into what we call E, and E here stands for employee. So this is the first quadrant here. Below it is the second one. On the top right is the third one. And below it is the fourth one. So we come to the first one. What is this first quadrant? What is this first category? This first category is called E. E stands for employee. So how do we define people who are found in this category? The way we define them is, 1, as long as you have someone you call a boss, you belong in that category. As long as you have someone you call a boss, then you belong in that category. I do not care how much money you're making, whether you earn 300 shillings per day or you earn 10 million every month. As long as you're reporting to someone who's on top of you, then we categorize you into this category we call E for employee. That's the first thing. The next thing we ask ourselves is, how do you make money while you're inside this category? And the answer to that question is very simple. The way you make money is you exchange time for money. When you wake up in the morning, you have to drive or go to work. You work the whole day. In the evening, you go back to your family. The next day, repeat the process. Friday comes, you're excited. You rest on the weekend, Monday, you start it again. After 4 weeks, you're in Kenya, you start getting excited because you know your bank account, something is going to get inside. So that income that comes at the end of the month came because of the time you are moving from your home to your workplace and working the whole day and coming back home. So we said the way you earn money at this quadrant is you exchange time for money. So if you look at this diagram here, you'll see they say time is equals to money. You don't show up for work, you get fired. Pesa inaacha kuingia. So the only way you make money is through exchange of your time. Okay? Now, let's assume you have an accident and you're not able to work again. What happens to you? What happens to your family? Who teaches you such things? Okay? Now, I want to remind you something. Those of you who attended the last class, I drew this thing here. I said our education system, I told you, structured to look like a funnel. And I'm going to repeat that so that you see how it blends very well here. So we said the education system was set up to look like a funnel. And I told you this thing came about with a gentleman called John D. Rockefeller, okay? So we said, let's assume it has holes. The funnel has holes everywhere. And we asked ourselves, if you start pouring water from on top here constantly to a point where it's overflowing, what is going to happen? And we said, water will come from these holes, okay? And there's that one that is going to come outside of here. So I told you the education system is structured to look like this. So here we have primary, here we have secondary, and here we have tertiary. So remember here in Kenya, this is 3 years. These are the children who have been placed inside this system. So they're operating 100% from the subconscious mind. So they get to school and their subconscious are picking things like a dry sponge which you're pouring water. So the teacher, kindergarten teacher starts saying what? When you grow up, become a what? A doctor, a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. All those things they told us. Now look what happens. You start being conditioned and you go through this system. Those who drop out, no one cares. If you drop out of secondary because of school fees or anything, no one cares. Their interest was these people who come out here. And that's why you see parents selling their assets to take their children to universities, yet there are no jobs outside here. Why? Because we are all programmed from the moment we were 3 years to get into this thing we call employment. So down here is where now the cash flow quadrant comes in. So this was the end goal, ladies and gentlemen. The few who make it out of this are supposed to land here, employee. So you want to work for the biggest bank. I want to work for Standard Chartered. That's your dream. You started here. And remember, since the mind is being conditioned since you're young, you have no idea how the subconscious is working. So you keep pushing. And only a small percentage is going to come out of this. And those who are lucky enough are going to end up in Standard Chartered here. But the question is, Who owns Standard Chartered? Is it not a human like you and I? Where's the farthest you can go if you become an employee? The farthest you can go is a CEO. You can't have two CEOs of Telepost. So all of us are getting into this space and we're squeezing in to try and reach the top, but there can only be one person who can be at the top. And remember, we've not been taught since we're here how to cooperate. We've been taught to compete with each other. Waswahili wanatuambia kidole kimoja hakiwezi ua chawa. The Bible tells us where two or more are combined. All these things around us, but we can't even see that. That's how conditional programmed we are. Then we keep complaining why things are not working for us. So this is exactly where most people end up. If you failed in school, the teachers will tell you you'll become nothing, you'll become nothing, you'll become nothing. All those things, if you allow them to get into your mind, they get into the subconscious. Not because you're not able to go to school, you start feeling sorry for yourself. As a creator, the tool you're given called the mind does not care whether you went to school or not. It is about what you allow inside. So pushing that you cannot be anything since you didn't go to school, most people accept that to be the truth because that's how the system was designed. So they end up giving up. But you'll see those who have that pinpoint of, I can do it even if I never went to school. Just look around you. Hamwezi kosata mtu mmoja. There are people who've left up country to come and start life in Nairobi, and today they're millionaires. They've employed people and they never went to school. Why? Because it's not about schooling. It's about the mindset. And that's why we keep pushing the concept of the mindset. So when you go through school, if you're not careful, you think you're very smart. But what you don't realize is your level of thinking has been locked in a certain way. You can't think beyond. And that's why our PhDs cannot even do what I was asking about. And if you try to challenge them, they ask you, umesoma umefika wapi? Mnasikiaga watu wakiulizana hivyo, mimi nimesoma sana, umefika wapi? It doesn't matter. There's no school that is best like experience. Take it to the bank. Experience is the best teacher. And last time I told you, experience is one of the powerful ways of how God talks to you. Just focus on learning the lessons from each experience and your life is going to turn around. So the first quadrant here is called E, okay? Let's move to the second one. Now the second one here is called S, and S stands for self-employed or small business, okay? Self-employed or small business. Now, what are these people looking for? How do they make money? The way they make money, again, is through time. Think of a doctor who runs a clinic. If the doctor does not show up in that clinic, does he get paid? So you have patients who are going to come, sit there, wait, the doctor is not coming, they're going to walk away. So for you to make money in this quadrant called S, your requirement is required a lot. Here at E, at the top, you're required there 100%. At S, your input is required, so we can put an average of about 60 to about 80%. Because you can employ a few people to do things for you here and there, but you also have to follow up on how they're doing it. And this is where people really go wrong. You go start employing your relatives, expecting because you're blood, they're going to see the bigger picture that you have. No. That is your dream. It's not theirs. For them, they're there to make the money. So they mess you up. Alafu unaanza kusema, nilikuwa na biashara mzuri sana, nikaemploy kijana wa ndugu yangu ama wanani akaniharibia. It's common. So your input is required a lot for you to actually make money in this quadrant we are calling S. Okay? So we leave it at that. I hope that is making sense. Now I want us to move to the right-hand side and look at the third one at the top right. This third one, we are calling it B. B stands for big business. S, small business or self-employed. B is big business. So when you're talking about big business, how do they earn? Basically, when you're standing at B, what happens is you create a system whereby you can bring people and plug them into that system you've created, and things run themselves without your presence. So it's a combination of a system and network. For example, if you take like something like Equity Bank today, if all employees decide to strike and leave, do you think Equity Bank is going to fail? It's not going to fail. Why? Because they've created a system. All they just need to do is advertise for people to apply for those jobs. And once they advertise and they get these people, they're just going to plug them into it and it will run by itself. Okay? But for you to get to that place where you're able to create the system and the network so that your input is not required, you have to start from somewhere. And the point where you start now is where S comes in. So as you're starting your business, you can have a very big goal of how you're going to convert it from moving from S to B. Equity started as a cooperative housing. It started at S. And now remember, as a creator, it's about the vision you choose to see. That's every company has a vision. Are you sticking to where you want to be? Do you have a goal of where you're aiming in the next 5, 10, 20 years? Or are you just existing? Are you just doing business for the sake of it? Speak to so many people who are doing business at S, and you'll realize they don't even have such a goal. And at S, you can make so much money, and you think now you're untouchable. You think you've done it. And it only takes one small thing to happen to you, and you come crumbling down like nothing. When I was talking to your directors before we started this program, I was telling them about a case I was called with a certain microfinance to analyze some case of a certain gentleman who went to Southern Sudan and set up a business. He's an engineer by profession. So he went and set up a company there. The time Southern Sudan had just got the independence. And he did very well. He used to get government contracts. He did so well that he used to spend the last week of every month traveling to a country he has never been into. Think about that. You work for 3 weeks, and then the 4th week, unaenda kutembea inchi ujai kanyaga. And you see in his mind, he was thinking, Kenya got independence in 63. We've always had independence. So everything will just be smooth. He assumed the same thing will happen with Southern Sudan. So the wife kept pushing him, hey, na situweke pesa kidogo hapa kando tujaribu kufanya tu biashara. Him is like, we've just started and we're making so much money. Haraka ni ya nini? We're still young. And the wife really pushed him. Ile akaamua sasa acha ninyamazishe bibi. He bought 3 flats in Kileleshwa. Okay, I think 2 in Kileleshwa, 1 in Kilimani. Akanunua na kaziacha, hata kodisha. That tells you how much money this person was swimming into. Okay? Now, unfortunate for him, Southern Sudan hawakukaa sana na independence yao. The war broke out again. To cut the story short, he traveled back to Kenya akiwa juu ya lori. Sio ndege. Amefichwa huko juu with soldiers mpaka kwa border, being protected, and he lost everything. Everything. Mpaka ile pesa ilikuwa kwa bank, gone. So when he came to Kenya now, his own it was, whoa, what do I do? Oh, we have those 3 houses. Sasa kaanza kuchukua madeni hapa na pale na pale. And he kept assuming things are going to ease up, then he's going to go back. So he took loans from every bank you can think about. Akajipata amesukumwa sasa mpaka amechukua kwa microfinance.
She doesn't know she's messing around.
So the whole idea was, let me perform some analysis and recommend whether they should give him a loan or not. And of course, my recommendation was like, no, ameharibu kabisa. So you find at that point, you want to sell this house, you're trying to look for tenants, but there was a bubble house at that time in this country. How many people can afford those flats? And so please don't fall into that trap. Just because you're doing so well at S, do not assume you've become successful. There are certain structures that you need to put into place where that company can run by itself, whether you're present or not. Even when your day comes and God takes you to be with him, the company should not even feel any effect. It should just run kama hakuna kitu kimefanyika. So that understanding and that difference is very, very important for all of us. Okay? So these are the people who anaweza toka hapa ende Mombasa, aingie cruise ship, kabla itoke achukue simu yake, angalie balance kwa Telepost ni ngapi, aone 10 million, azime simu yake kando, the cruise ship izunguke dunia, itoke upande ya Asia, itoke Europe, Russia, ingie Canada, States, ikuje teremke South America, ingie West Africa, iteremke South Africa, irudi Kenya, 1 year. Akishuka tu hivi, awashe simu, angalie balance, aliacha ikiwa 10 million, apate say iko 220 million. For going around the world, just enjoying himself. Those are the people here. These are the people who play golf mchana. Sasa leo unakimbizana na maripoti na vitu kama hizo. So when you do not know where wealth is, when you do not know where the financial freedom is, you'll work so hard in the wrong space. And I'm not saying being an employee is bad. No, 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 please. I'm just opening your minds to realize what do you want for yourself. If you want financial freedom, then there are certain places you need to put your energy and focus on. Else, that's where now the point of my people perish for lack of knowledge comes into play. Because we were programmed without us realizing to focus on E. Hebu angalieni huyu jamaa hapa vile anakaa. And tell me if you cannot resonate to that guy. Ni majira amewekwa nyuma. That's why ikifika December, all of us are so excited. It's a long break for us. We are hype, super hype. Ni ile uchovu ya the whole year. And it only lasts for 3 weeks. Now we are back to business again. Majira sasa hivi, irudishwe. Another 1 year, the same thing. Hivyo, before you know it, you're retiring. Ukiangalia, do you have anything to show? Hakuna. Then you wonder why. And that's why I told you, in that research that I did, I focused on the retirees who had prime jobs, just to understand how they were faring on. Prime jobs ziko hapa kwa hii. And I told you over 95% of them are relying on pensions and upkeep. Now our stock market has dipped and dipped. It's lost almost 40% of its value. Hiyo ni pesa ya pension inangojewa na watu huko mbele. 40% eroded. Tusiweke sasa hata maneno ya foreign exchange risk. The dollar is hitting Kenya shilling like nothing else. All these things are playing into how much you're going to get when you retire. So kama hujajipanga kivingine, you'll end up just like them. And that's why we talked about that 3-generation cycle. It's passed on from one to the next. And that is why it's my prayer that you and I should be the last generation to go through this. And we can do it because finally God has opened the door for us to get the right knowledge that is going to turn this thing around for us. That's why I keep pushing. Please encourage your members to come and listen to this. It's transforming people. It's the truth that was hid from us. All right? So this is now what we call E. And then finally, you come down here now to I. I stands for investments or an investor. Who is an investor? The mindset of an investor is, I have X. How do I turn this X to be 2X or 3X or 5X or 10X? That is the mindset of an investor. Understand that this cash flow quadrant represents 4 categories. And in each category, you require a different mindset. So when you're shifting from one to the next, it is important for you to start studying the kind of mindset of where you want to go. And it's easy. You can find these things on YouTube. Just Google people who are doing well wherever you want to be. If possible, make friends with such people so that you stay around with them, because their talks is going to influence your thought process. And once they influence your thought process, as a creator, you will start creating that. You cannot come to do your business here at S with the mindset of an employee. Utaanguka. And that's why you see a lot of employees. Anajichocha, mi naenda kwanza biashara, mi natoka, I'm done with employment. So he saves this money, comes out, he has a brilliant idea. Kumbuka, from this, I told you, shule imedesigniwa kutuangusha wapi? Hapa, kwa E. Now, you come this place here we're calling S, and I've told you need a very different mindset to be operating here. Now, since you came here, you did not know that your subconscious was taught, number one, to compete. So let's go back to the education system. 2, it instilled fear in you because they wanted you to be perfect, all of you to be number 1. So they made a belief system that failing is wrong. And trust me, the world outside here does not work like that. Failing is given. That's given. It's the part of the process for you to learn. Hakuna mtoto zaliwa na anatembea. Lazima wataanguka mara kadhaa until they learn the art of walking. That's what I'm saying. Study nature and you'll see how it works. So all these things, without you realizing, they are inside your subconscious mind as an employee. Unadhani unahitaji capital peke yake, ni ile experience ulikuwa nayo kwa employment. No. So you come here, set up a business, you are competing with people who learned it the hard way, hawakwenda shule. There's nothing they have not gone through. Si polisi, sio nini, stress, all kind of stress. Wewe umezoea ka cubicle. So you come outside here, unatandikwa mara ya kwanza, ya pili unakimbia employment, unarudi employment. Unaanza kuambia to employment, hey, biashara ina wenyewe. No, it's the mindset that was wrong. You did not, no one took you through to understand that each of these 4 categories, you require a different mindset. So you need to start preparing yourself, and that's why it's important to get mentors on the space where you want to go, because they start showing you things that you cannot see. So please understand that. And you can balance mali unataka. So if you want to move from E to S, you can start doing it slowly. Weekends unajaribu hivi, and you learn. Pay attention, you're starting. Pay attention to the experience. Don't be in a hurry of making money. That experience is very key. We go back to skills. You cannot take a 20-year-old person who trained football for 1 week, then you take them to go play abroad in these premier clubs. We laughed the day we gave that example here, but that is exactly what people do here. You want to set up a shop today and you expect by the end of the week you'll have broken even. It doesn't work like that. So this understanding prepares you psychologically of what is coming. So it will make sense if you want to move out of employment, usiwe na haraka, until that point you feel now naturally, now I want to go. Because that slow movement starts doing something into your mind. It starts preparing you. And remember, everything is mindset. Hapa nje utakuja utandikwe mpaka realize competition is good. You stop fearing it. But before that, you'll always fear competition. You look at so many corporates, what is our competitor doing? What is our competitor doing? It doesn't care what they're doing. Focus with what you're doing yourself. Add value to you, your members. Add value to your clients. Add value. So long as you're adding value, no one is going to leave you. And so you can see the tweaking around. There's a student I taught in Form 2. During COVID, we had an online class for children. And this is one of those rare cases where children are so passionate about entrepreneurship. And so I became his mentor. So he finished and he told his parents now he wants to start his business. He had been trying a couple of businesses here and there. And the parents said, no, you have to go to university. And it became a debate of about 4 months. I had to be brought in. And so me, I just told the parents, Why are you pushing him to go to university and yet your child is very clear on what he wants to do? You know, it's gonna teach you. I said, no, you don't need a university to teach you how to run a business. We've covered all these things with him. What you're doing is you're falling into the trap of the system without you realizing. Why would you want to go and spend almost 3 million in university and all he's asking for is a capital of 500,000? And so the debate went on and on. Eventually, they decided to give it, they came down to Strathmore University. Now, Strathmore University, the agreement was, I'm only going to go there for 1 year. If I feel there's value, I'll continue. If not, I'm walking away. That is a 19-year-old child telling the parents that. So guess what happens? So he joins. After 2 months, he calls me to his house. So I go, I meet the parents, and he tells his parents, I'm not going back to Strathmore. So the parents asked why, and he said, at Strathmore University, I am being taught how to manage other people's business, not how to manage my own or how to create my own. That is a 19-year-old child. I want you to think about that statement. At Strathmore, they are teaching people how to be managers, not how to create and own businesses. So basically, at Strathmore, you're being taught to become a CEO who's here. But this child wants to start from here, then grow it here. As I speak to you, he runs a company that is worth about 8.6 million. I spoke to him in November. He's now 22. And what is special? It's about the mindset. It's just about the mindset. Okay? So now we go back to this cash flow quadrant. So now I hope you can see the difference. So E for employee, S for self-employed, B for big business, and I for investments. Okay? Now, there's something else I want to add here. E, the logic behind E is security. Okay? You're looking for somewhere safe where you know every month I'll be picking something. Okay? And what's off, I want benefits. You know, Intalipiwa, health insurance, blah, blah, blah. If that's how you're structured, because not everyone was created the same. If for you, you're looking for security and those benefits, then fair enough, go for E. S is looking for independent. I don't have a boss. I want to be my own boss. I want to run my own company. I want things to be done the way I say it should be done. That's the logic behind S. Now B, this is someone who's looking for wealth. Okay? I'm looking for wealth. And the wealth I need to do is create a system and then bring smart people to implement that system. And then me, I can just travel around the world and money will just gonna walk in. So the logic behind B again is wealth. Then I is now what we're calling financial freedom. Okay? Now, I want you to look at these 3 questions that I've put here. So where is wealth found? Where is financial freedom found? Automatically you'll realize it is found on the right-hand side. So I wish when we joined school at age 3, our teachers could have been telling us, let's teach you something called the cash flow quadrant. I teach these things to kids, but I call it the 4 money box. Because when they hear 4, it clicks 1, 2, 3, 4. Money, so there's money in these boxes. So I break it down for them until they realize, oh, this makes sense now. So imagine if you're not aware of this and you have been programmed since you're a child that financial freedom will come through E. And you end up believing that that's the truth. So that's what your subconscious picks and you start now running with it. You start running with it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why over 95% of the retirees who I interviewed who had very, very good paying jobs, eventually end up struggling financially. So does it mean we should all run to the right-hand side? Of course not. It's all about what do you want for yourself, okay? So what needs to happen here is you need to sit back. Remember those two questions I asked. Number one, who am I relative to this? Am I happy with my financial situation? That's the question you're asking yourself. I told you forget everything outside of you. You have that talk with yourself. Remember those of you I gave that story of Gitonga and the car keys. When we all laughed, when we heard Gitonga was going to look for the car keys outside the street light, this is what I'm talking about. So you have that talk with yourself. Where I am today, am I happy with this financial situation? If you're not, then the second question kicks in. And the second question is, who do I choose to be? Because you are always recreating yourself. The process, the idea is to create your future using your own conscious thoughts, not someone else who instilled it in your subconscious. So once you decide, I want to go to the wealth part, it means my subconscious was programmed to do the opposite of wealth building. I told you, anytime you're not happy with anything going on, the enemy is the subconscious. It was programmed to do the opposite of what your conscious right now is looking for. Therefore, it's about reprogramming. And I drew something for you, which I'm going to repeat today. Let me use green here. So if this is your subconscious mind, subconscious, we say this is 95% after 7 years. So this is where you are. Now, this part here is the conscious, which is 5%. So anytime you are not happy with something about your life, let's take, for instance, now we're looking at a financial situation and we're not happy. That is the conscious thinking. Sasa nitafanya nini? Hii kitu imeendaje? Mbona na struggle hivi? That is the conscious reasoning. Now the reason is sio serikali, sio taxes, sio nini. The enemy is this person here. It is this person here. Anytime you're struggling with anything, you're thinking, using your conscious to try and analyze things. But the problem why you're struggling, it's because the subconscious has already been programmed to do the opposite of what your conscious wants now. So you want financial freedom and you're struggling, understand your subconscious was structured, was programmed to do the opposite of achieving financial freedom. It's as simple as that. So that understanding makes you not even complain. It wakes you up and, sawa. Sasa vile nitafanya, niliambiwa nini? I just need to keep thinking because I'm a creator. I just want to keep thinking about wealth, financial freedom. So when you start thinking, you're now, that's why I said, the first question is, who am I? When you're asking the first question, you're trying to identify where the problem is, and you realize that the problem is the subconscious mind. Then the second question is, who do I choose to be? Now you're making a conscious decision about your future because in the past you didn't realize someone else made it for you. So from this moment going forward, you're taking control of your own life through your conscious thoughts. So you start thinking about wealth. When you start doing that as a creator, by using this tool that God gave us called the mind, whatever it is you're thinking about starts building up. And as it is going up, this one starts now coming down. This is what we call reprogramming. That's why here, be persistent. People who persist in anything without doubt eventually achieve it. So as you start, it will be very difficult depending on your thought process, what you're holding. Why? Because whatever age you are today, understand that age, your subconscious, all those years was programmed to do the opposite of what you want today. So you cannot expect, I want to be a millionaire tomorrow. You're at 40 years, and for 40 years, your mind was programmed to be a broke person without you realizing. I mean, think about those times your parents told you, do you think money grows on trees? Do you think I do this? Do I think I do that? You know, that negative talk they used to give us. And we're not blaming anyone. They didn't know the effect of this. So you know that you're understanding this, you also have to be very careful at the language you use for your children, because that gets into their subconscious and it creates that money is something scarce. You can't get it. But once you tell yourself that you cannot do that, then you're done. You are done completely, because I said God cannot come and interfere. It's for you to allow the thoughts you want to. So that's why the experience is very important for you to listen. Always be paying attention to the experience. All right. So the more you listen to that, it will help you a lot to revert it. So as you keep thinking about wealth and financial freedom, this starts going up and this starts coming down. Don't stop it. So as these two starts approaching what I can call the equilibrium line here, things will start becoming easier, and this is going to fall off completely. And this now will replace the subconscious. But this time now, it is the thoughts that you want for yourself, not what someone else wanted for you. And so you can see the importance of starting this thing from a very young age, because wale wakiwa wadogo, it is very easy for them to absorb these things. Last time, there's a gentleman who asked, now, how do we do this damage? Because it's so serious. It's because an adult, the damage is already there. But that does not mean you cannot undo it, but it's going to take a lot of effort. So depending on how bad you want that financial freedom, I have shared with you the secret of how to go about that. Okay? Now, so where is wealth? Wealth is found this side. I'm asking you, do you remember who you are? You are a creator. Remember to see everything as energy. Stop looking at your financial situation that's so bad and you say, I cannot do it. It is about the mind. Tell your mind, I'm blessed. I have it. I can see it coming. Talk what, just keep thinking like that, and then be on the lookout. You will be surprised how it works. It's just amazing. So this points out to where you can actually go. So as a creator, what are you choosing for yourself? What is it that you keep focusing on? You cannot be thinking about how broke you are, how stressful you are, and you expect miracles are going to happen. Miracle happens through the thought. I told you, when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. Everything is just the mindset. Hakuna kitu ingine. Okay? Now, I want you to look at this quote here. I go back to John D. Rockefeller. I want you to look at this quote he's talked about here. He's saying, I would rather do what? I would rather earn 1% of a 100 people's effort than 100% of my own efforts. Contemplate that. This is the person behind the education system and the way he structured it, such that you end up where? That funnel. He wanted to drop you here. Now, when you're working here, I told you, you are required 100%. Kosa kwenda kazi uone. But what is he saying? I'll rather earn how much? Sorry. I'll rather earn 1% of 100 people. These are the 100 people here. So he has built a system and he's brought all these smart people to come and work in that system. So he's saying, I'd rather get 1% from these 100 people than me being by my own putting 100%. Na tukaambiwa hapa, if you work very hard. If you work hard, so many na bidii. Niliuliza last time, kuna watu wanafanya kazi kwa bidii kuliko watu wa mjengo. Have you ever seen mtu wa mjengo akipeleka gari? And yet we cannot sit back and ask ourselves, this logic does not make sense. So here's the secret, ladies and gentlemen. Before you work hard, work smart. Start with smartness before you work hard. Why? Being smart means you want to identify an opportunity that is guaranteeing you income in the long run. So before you even start working hard, take your time to think What is it I can do? And we'll come to that on how you can pick ideas. It will be part of the topics we're going to cover. So once you identify that uniqueness, that's being smart. Now from that point, now put all your effort inside that. And it's going to pay off. Lakini ukifuata tu ufanya kazi na bidii. I've given you examples. I mean, just come here to CBD and see for yourself. Mudhurwa kuna watu walali, wakibeba magunia kutoka asubuhi mpaka jioni. That's working hard. But they missed the first component of working smart. So, these people who are here, ndio nilikuwa nakwambia ukiwapa hivi, 100% is you. If something happens to you today and you're promoted to glory, what happens to your family? You and the 10 million you're making as the CEO, what happens to your family? Na ukienda leo, 1 week ataisha, you'll be replaced haraka sana with someone else. And people will come there and say how good you are, and it's all, na maisha itaendelea. So we have to be smart in the movement we are making. So this guy created a system of the education as we know it today to drop most of us here, and it has worked out so perfectly because he did not want competition. Yeye ako wapi? Ako hapa kwa B. He's setting up companies, and then now he's producing all these smart people coming from all corners of the world with degrees and first classes and whatever it is. Tunajazwa tu pale tumfanyie kazi. There's a company I worked for, and I created 2 products in the insurance space. Na zikashika vizuri kabisa. And then I was awarded the Employee of the Year. Nikipigiwa makofi with my colleagues, I felt I was on top of the world. Na nikapatiwa bonus ingine mzuri sana. But in my mind, I didn't realize I've been boxed up as an employee. You know, when I look around me, I see the CEO clapping for me and everyone stand ovation. You're like, yeah. But when I learned this thing, I decided to calculate the bonus that I was given and how much those 2 products brought for that company, which I was not a shareholder. Wakati niliona hiyo difference, it just became so easy for me to walk away. Because I realized I have the mind to create things for myself. So I'm putting 100% of this, na kuna mtu anafurahia tu tuko 100 of us, yana chukuaga tu 1% yetu akicheza golf kila wakati. So please, this is very, very powerful. Now, the next thing I want to share with you now, what is the next step forward? Before we go to that, let's look at now the difference. Sorry about that. Let's look at the difference between the people who are found on the left-hand side and those who are found on the right-hand side. Okay? So the first thing you notice is this. For you to make money on the left-hand side, you need time. That's the first thing I want you to pick. And that's what this slide, your presence is required for you to make money. On the right-hand side, your presence is not required. So you as a creator, and have taught you how you can create anything you want for, which side do you want to be? So when you start thinking about your family and you worry about what can happen to you, automatically, it tells you need to figure out how you're going to end up on the right-hand side if you're not there. I just give that example. If something happens to you and you're promoted to glory, your presence in Asia, that's how you're replaced so fast. So this is very important for you to understand. Second, on the left-hand side, you work for money. On the right-hand side, money works for you, not the other way around. And the best example I like giving is this one here. Let's imagine let's assume you're standing here. Tusahau maneno tumefunzwa, just simple common sense, huh? Here you are. Okay? And then assume there's a cat here. Hii ni paka, eh? We're going to have two scenarios. So wherever you're seated there right now, let's assume I bring a cat. Hapo umekaa tu. Alafu nikwambie aje, nataka ufukuze hii paka mpaka wakati utaishika. Uniulize umesema nini, kwambie, unaona hiyo paka nimeweka pale chini, nataka uikimbize mpaka uishike. Na hakuna njia nyingine ya kuishika, unafaa tu uifukuze mpaka saa zile utaishika. Ukishika unipigie simu ama uniambie. Uanze sasa. Ukimbizana nayo. What are the chances utashika hii paka? And remember, I am talking about a closed place, not an open space. Because in an open space now, forget about it. You'll never catch it. Even in a closed place, what are the chances you'll be able to catch this cat? The chances are very small. And remember, I've told you the only way for you to catch this cat is to run after it. Utaikimbiza iruke mali tremke hivi because it's designed. Ukichoka nakuja na kuletea maji, energy drink ndio hii. Kunywa hii kidogo kwanza upate nguvu. Nahitaji chakula? Haya, onja hii kidogo, haya, pumzika kidogo. Uko sawa? Haya, tuendelee na kazi. You run after it, unachoka tena, we repeat the same process. Sasa unataka chai, maji ama nini, I provide for you. Haya, tuendelee. You'll keep doing that over and over and over. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we have been conditioned through that system to be chasing after money. And because we have not been taught of any other thing, we've just been taught ni kuifukuza, our mind has been, remember what I said about the education system, it's structured to teach us what to think, not how. I told you what converges the mind, how diverges the mind. And I gave you the example. That's when you started school, they told you A is for apple. Out of all the names that start with A, they wanted to narrow your mind to just think of apple. That's how the condition starts. So without your realization, daktari, employee, nini, hiyo yote imekuja. Alafu kaambiwa pension huko mwisho. So you start your job, you're so excited, you have all this energy. All of us started when you're young, remember how it was. By the time bidi unafika 35, you start how do you even get out of this thing? It's the exhaustion of running after this cat. Tukifika December tunapumzika. Those 3 weeks I was talking about. Next year tena hivyo. What are the chances you're going to catch that cat? And this explains why our retirees kule wako are going through financial struggles. Because they spent years running after the cat, because without their realization, they were conditioned that the only way to financial freedom is to run after this cat. And that is the reality we have to face. So today we sit, wait a minute, the question we want to ask ourselves, is there another way of catching this cat? So we want to challenge our subconscious, because it has been programmed to run after this cat. So I want to use our conscious now to answer the second question, who do we choose to be? So we're asking ourselves, is there another way? This cat, I can catch it. That's why we talked about start with smartness. Don't work hard. These fast people always working hard, running after it. So let's apply our principle. First, let's start by thinking smart. So what's the smartest thing we can do? Hii paka kimbiza, it makes sense. Sitaweza kuishika. So automatically, how can I? Remember the talk, the self-talk, we say, don't say I can't, say how can I? And the moment you say how can I, then your mind opens up and it starts bringing for you ideas and answers. So tunajiambia kufukuza paka hii ni kutupa mbao. I'm going to use a lot of energy and the chances are very small. So is there another way? Na nikinunua samaki, nikinunua maziwa, niweke hapa chini, hata nitasonga. Sinikuita tu, pus, 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 kiri, 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 kam. Ikisikia tu harufu ya samaki itajileta yenyewe. Like this. So ladies and gentlemen, do you choose to be this person called A or do you choose to be this person called B? The decision is yours as a creator. So this is what most people do. Most people are in A and it's not their fault. I go again to those conditioning I was talking about, the programs which you're not aware of. So when you understand this concept, basically what we are saying, these are the people on the left-hand side. So where the money is, where freedom is, where wealth is on the right-hand side. You don't need to work very hard. Just get something smart, then work hard initially to get the thing is rolling up. If you're going to set up the system, get employees to come and work for you. If you want to go in the investments, it's about that development of a mindset where I have X. How do I make it 3X? I have 10 shilling. It doesn't matter whether it's a shilling or 10 or 100 bob or 1 million. It's about how do I multiply this? Because the mind does not care. It doesn't even know the difference between 1 million and 10 shilling. And that's why we're saying even for our children, usimpatie shilingi moja uone ni kitu ndogo kwako. Kwake anaona ni pesa unampatia. So the interpretation is money I'm supposed to be given. They cannot differentiate 5 shilling and 1,000. Atasema tu moja ni karatasi, ingine ni coin. But to them, money is money. So you're starting to show them money ni ya kupewa. And you think what you're doing is you're showing love. Unaenda unanunua sweetie, mkienda nyumbani utaki kupigiwa kelele. You are spoiling them. You are actually integrating the wrong programs consistently ukipelekaga kila usiku. So the same thing we want to apply here. Wherever we are, how do we start? Those two questions. Who am I? And that's a question I want all of you to ask yourself before you sleep today. Are you happy? If not, then the last part of my presentation now is coming to that point. So here, we are saying, when you're on the left-hand side, you're chasing the cart. You're running after that money. But on the right-hand side, the cart is coming to where you are. The left-hand side, there's a lot of money stress here. But on the right-hand side, there's peace of mind financially. And the good thing is, most people are not aware of this, and they're working so hard believing they're heading in the right direction. Just like our forefathers, the retirees who I spoke to, who had the best jobs you can think about, and today they're crying. That's why they're telling me, we're trying to warn you, our children, but you're not paying attention to what we're telling you. So now we want to thank God, because God has brought us not just the knowledge, but the right knowledge. So the start of point is not to tell children to become doctors and all that. No, it's to draw for them this cash flow quadrant and show them where the money is. So guess what? If you go through my students today, and your children will be attending my class in April, which I decided to provide as a bonus of being given this opportunity to speak to you. This is what you're going to notice after that program with them. Your children will stop saying, I want to become a doctor. They will start saying, I want to own a fleet of clinics across East Africa, and I become a doctor in one of them. Do you feel the difference? Your children will stop saying, I want to become a pilot. They will tell you, I want to own my own airline and become a pilot in one of them. So what are we doing cleverly in that thought? What we're doing is, if we look at the cash flow quadrant, the way we drew it, what I'm starting to do to these children is, I am starting to program in their subconscious mind what we are calling the right-hand side. Okay? So they will tell you, not only do I want to be a pilot who is here, they'll tell you, I want to own an airline. An owner of an airline is here. But at the same time, I'm going to be an employee in one of my aircrafts. I just don't want to be a doctor. I want to own a fleet of clinics or a big hospital like Aga Khan. Aga Khan is seated here and become a doctor in it. I just don't want to be a lawyer. I want to create a law firm that is going to specialize in the entire African continent, and I'll become a lawyer in that. So in my classes, what I do now to these children is I start implementing in their subconscious mind the right-hand side. And as the money comes in, we start now moving some here so that the money starts working for them. So even at age 3, 4, 5 there are things we can do. Money market, small things that require small amounts of money. The idea is for them to see, I placed this amount, it came back twice. Wow, that's interesting. You started to implement that in the subconscious because it's easier at that age. So now we come to the final part where now the question becomes, what is the next step? So the first thing is for you, before you sleep, you draw this diagram and you ask yourself, if you're happy with where you are, fair enough, no point of doing anything. But if you're not happy, then the question becomes, this cash flow quadrant, I've been here for how long? And you'll find most of you mtakuwa hapo. Kuna wale wana approach retirement, kuna wale washa retire already. That's fine. Haina shida. The first question, who am I? Unaona mahali huko. Then the next question is, who do I choose to be? Where do I choose to go? Now remember, financial freedom and wealth is in this side. So you can choose to create your own path. Kama mimi employee, I want to end up here. So for starters, you can create a plan whereby every income that I make from here in my salary, 10% of it, I'll make sure it always goes to an asset, an investment I can do that can start generating money for me. Okay? So that's one of the things you can do. The second thing that you can do is you can tell yourself, I'm going to work for, let's say, the next 5 years or 3 years, and I'm going to save capital to start a business here. So this will be number one of the things that you can do. Because the whole goal is, most of us, trust me, your legs on the left-hand side. But in the next 1 year, when I come back to check on you people next year, 2025, God willing, the minimum I expect for every one of you who has attended this class is that you'll have one leg here and the other leg here. Tutoe miguu zote hapa hivi mbili, to stretch moja ikuje ipande. And how do we do that? This is one way. So I'll start saving kidogo kidogo towards heading in investments. I need to have some investments in the next 1 year which are generating money for me. That's a step. The second one is you give yourself time. Nataka kuingia biashara gani? Na usikimbilia tu ati kuangalia vile watu wanafanya biashara tu ukimbilia hapo, hapana. You need to think smart. And I told you I'll teach you how to come up, generate ideas which no one else is thinking about. I'll show you an easy way of doing that. And once you have that, of course, you do your analysis, you do your risk management, all those things you need to do for an entrepreneur, and then you realize how much you need. So you start saving. If it's 3 years, so you'll say 3 years hapa, but I'll start this business after 2 years. So in the final year, nitakuwa employed, but I'm also doing the business pole pole, so that you start getting that experience of shifting of the mindset. Once you move to this pace, you'll tell yourself, I'm giving myself another maybe 10 years to ensure that this thing moves to B. So this will be the second step as well. And once you're here, you can decide to be playing around here or vice versa. So the end goal is to make sure that at least one of your legs is on the right-hand side. At the very least, that's what you aim for. But at best, you should have both of your legs on this side. So we are talking about the retired people. How do we work around that? Okay. So for those who are approaching retirement, you might feel like it's almost over. I told you it's about the mindset. Your mind does not care how old you are. It's about sitting down and creating that plan as a creator. And that's why one of the topics we're going to cover in the near future is setting up goals. And you're going to see the connection between that and this. So how to build that plan of where you're heading, I'm going to break it down to you in a way that it's going to be very simplified in ways of how you can measure. Just like your Sacco does strategic planning, and then every year they have a review, checking on how they're progressing. And that mindset is very key for you to shift from an employee, because remember, as an employee, kuanguka ni vibaya. School taught you failing is wrong. Outside, it's the opposite. Failing is very good, because there's a lesson God wants to teach you there to strengthen something in you to move to the next step. Okay? So that will end my presentation for today. I'm very happy to take any questions that you may have for me. Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiza. Over to you, Madam CEO.
Wow. Thank you so much, Andrew. I think if we were seated in a room, this is where we should be doing a lot of claps, standing ovation and that kind of a thing. But we are clapping in our houses and wherever we are. Thank you so much for taking time. I think time has really gone so quick, we didn't even realize it. We are very grateful. We are taking in a lot ourselves also. We just want to get members' feedback. Please, our members, feel free. Just unmute your mic if you need to say something or raise your hand. Feel free. We really want to give ourselves at least 10 minutes or so to get member feedback, a question, a comment, a suggestion, anything from our members. Thank you so much. The numbers are still high, but I know we can still do better, even in the upcoming sessions, if you refer one person. So imagine the 80 of us referring another person will double the numbers in the next session. So members, it's your time. Please feel free to engage our facilitator in any kind of way.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kimani Durungo. Thank you very much, Andrew, for that wonderful presentation. It's really touching, and you get to ask yourself, where were you? Why didn't it happen before? But nevertheless, there's always the right time. My question is, during employment, there is this thing that keeps on pulling you back. You really think you want to do this, like you're talking about security, but you never get to make a step. How can you overcome that so that you can make the first step towards the goals you want or towards moving on the right direction? My other question is, how do I link you with my son if I really want my son to get this kind of teaching? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimani, for your compliment. I deeply appreciate that. Let me start with your son. As I mentioned, part of what I decided to do for this circle is to teach or to introduce your children. It's going to be a Zoom class in April where during the break, and it's going to be a teaser, sort of introducing them to the concepts around this, because at the moment, I know most of them. So in that discussion, just what I'd ask of you, Mr. Kimani, is just pay attention. Ukirudi jioni muulizage, what did you guys cover? And listen. Utaanza kusikia a shift of a mindset and a surprise. Now, once we finish with that, if you want more details around that, you can reach me directly. I'm going to put my number on the chat part. or I'm going to request, okay. So my number is there. I've just put it there. So you can reach me. But come April, we're going to have those classes. They're going to be about like 6 hours divided into 2 days. So once you want more than that, then feel free to reach me on that number. Now, over to your first question about that's something that is always pulling you behind. You want to do something that's pulling you. It's precisely what I talked about, some of the downside of our education system. It instilled fear in us. The word we're supposed to use, the fear. Why do we have the fear of moving from employee to start? And so what happens is that a lot of people just decide, nimechoka acha niende. So they go blindly, not realizing there are certain things that need to happen. And the main one is a shift of that mindset. And that's why we're saying, once you identify whatever it is that you'd like to try, don't be in a rush to move. You can start by getting someone, ama ujifanyange kando, so that you get that groove. You get someone else on board until a point where you'll feel naturally you're ready. You won't have that fear. That's the easiest way to go about it. The other one is just to jump ship and let things go where they go, but the risk there is very high. So I normally recommend people start with something small, and the whole idea is you're not starting to make money, you're starting to get that experience required for you to be able to handle that quadrant you're heading into. So it's all about the shift of the mindset. Now, once you start feeling you're getting accustomed to it, umeanza kuingia vizuri, you start scaling things up, and you'll be able to predict when you'll be ready to actually shift. That's the best way to go about it, Mr. Kimani. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. Members, more questions kindly, but maybe Mr. Andrea can pick something from the chats as our members prepare to say something. One person has asked how they refer people, I think, to what this program is. Just as simple as sharing the link. Anytime you see our text message, our WhatsApp, please just pick it and send it to your friend, your spouse, your brother, your colleague. They are free to join this program. Another, Madam Celestine asks on the chat, is it advisable to take loans for investments? Now, I know we will be coming to that in one of our sessions, but maybe you can say something about it.
There's nothing wrong with, actually, that's the right direction. Use borrowed money to make money work for you. A lot of people use borrowed money for things that does not work for them. So when you come to investments, the point will be, what kind of investments are you putting your money? Because when you borrow money to go put them in cryptocurrency, they tell us it's investments, but we all know it's a scam. Okay, most people don't know it's a scam. So you have to be very sure. Actually, what we're saying is you need to put your money into predictable income. That means it has to be, you have to do a lot of analysis where you're putting your money so that you gain that confidence. Nikiweka pesa yangu hapa itapotea. But that's not what we do as Kenyans. We follow the wind. Oh, Madam CEO ameanza kuweka kuku, acha pia mimi nikaeke. Oh, Madam CEO sijui ameenda quill business, pia mimi nakimbiza. Oh, nilisikia sijui kuna forex trading, pia mimi naenda naeka. We go back to the scripture. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Why are you putting your money in an investment you don't understand? That's one of the basic rules I'm going to tell you. Never ever put your money into something you can't explain to your child. Wacha ipite, because that's what scams use. They just use psychology on you. They use heavy terms, and you think they're very educated, they know more than you. Unatoshea kwa box kabisa. So yes, borrowed money should be used in investments which you've actually done your analysis and you're very sure that it's going to bring predictable income. Simply put. Over to you, Madam CEO.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I'd also really like to recognize our members on the chat that are just saying thumbs up, good job. Appreciating what we are doing. Our chairman is definitely on the line. He's excited about what we are doing. Mr. Walter, thank you so much for your comments. Mary, Ibrahim, Madam Miriam, all the way in the diaspora, different time zones, but really making time to be here. Jemima, thank you so much. So we still have a minute or so. Members, unmute yourself and just ask a question or say anything.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Miriam. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity and also to thank the board and the management for such a good thought that we need to get the right knowledge for us to know how to invest in future. So I'm very happy, and on behalf of the diaspora members, I can see some of them were in the line. Kim, thank you for joining in, and the rest of us who are in the group. I'm so happy because this is a mind changer for us, because even yesterday we attended another training, and it's all about how we can earn from the 100 people, 1% from the 100 people's effort, other than the 100% from my own effort. So I think that's the line we are gonna take now. And to Mr. Andrew, thank you so much for opening up our minds. We are still uninstalling the Word document and installing the Excel document. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Madam Miriam. Thank you so much. Someone else? As we wait for another comment, Eliphas Kibe on the chat. He says that next time or in the near sessions, he's hoping to get some pills that can help in debt management. I am sure, Mr. Andrew, you'll definitely get us there. We need to manage our debt levels and make sure we are borrowing for the right reasons. I know we'll get there. Thank you so much, Eliphas. We will definitely come to you as we proceed with the sessions. Yeah, members, please, we still have a minute to wrap up, but would like to hear more from you. All right. Thank you for those who are on the chat, saying keep it up, Telepost Sacco, and we'll definitely do so. So session 5 is coming up on the 7th of February. We are doing this every 2 weeks and mostly on Wednesdays unless otherwise communicated. Every Wednesday evening. Please feel free to chat us and call us if you feel that we need to adjust anything in terms of time. Also make sure next time bring in a person that is not here today. Mr. Kibe has mentioned we have a program for the children. We'll be letting you know the dates and the times when April draws near. So that is coming as a pro bono service. Thank you so much, Mr. Andrew. And with that, we'd really like to wrap up. We said we'll be keeping time so that we allow us to proceed for the evening activities. Unless there is anyone I'm locking out, members. Anybody to say anything as we wrap up? Thank you so much for those that are still typing on the chat. We acknowledge your gratitude. Thank you so much, Douglas. We are grateful. So I guess that's it for tonight. Mr. Kibe, we are grateful for making time to always be here on site at the Sacco. We hope to keep improving this. It will take different fashions as we go forward. Our members have just written in the chat that some of them are edging towards retirement and they're appreciating this. I know Mr. Andrew will have a session for a certain category of our members so that we get to really get where the rubber meets the road. And I know that will be very wonderful for our members. So thank you so much and have a lovely night. Thank you so much.
Now,